I unintentionally caused a war between my family and my brother's wife's family with one innocent text message. So my brother's wedding happened 2 days ago, and it turned into a complete chaos, which I know even though I wasn't there. You might wonder why I didn't attend the wedding if it's my brother's. Well, it's because of his wife's family. He did send me an invitation to the wedding because he wanted me there, but his fiancée told him I couldn't attend because I had a boyfriend. You might be confused. But I'm a man. A bisexual man to be exact, and I have a boyfriend who I wanted to bring to the wedding. She said even though she doesn't have a problem with that and he doesn't have a problem with that, her extremely religious parents who already forced her to do the wedding in a church would most likely banish us from the wedding and cause trouble between our families. After she told him that my brother told me I couldn't attend and told me why, you might think I was angry. The truth is I was relieved. I hate going to big events with lots of people because of my social anxiety, and I already was used to not being able to attend certain events because of my sexuality, so it was nothing I haven't heard before. So the day of the wedding I stayed at home with my boyfriend. It's worth mentioning my parents apparently didn't know I wasn't attending the wedding. I was chillin' at home cuddling with my boyfriend when I suddenly got a text message from my parents asking me where I was, because they couldn't find me at the wedding party. I told them I wasn't attending the wedding and asked if my brother hasn't told them anything. They said no and asked me what happened. I didn't see any reason to lie, so I sent them a text message telling them exactly why. Now I have to admit I don't exactly know what happened after I sent them this message because they read it but didn't reply. And why did they care in the first place? They didn't notice I wasn't there before until the wedding was already over. They only noticed when the wedding party started. However, apparently my parents talked to my brother about it and all of a sudden my absence was the main topic of the wedding party. From what I heard, two fronts formed. On the one hand my parents and the rest of my family against the family of my brother's wife, and apparently he as a husband now felt compelled to take her side and tried to argue in her favor. It's crazy to think that I was just sitting at home living my best life with my boyfriend while all of that crap went down on his wedding. The wedding party was ruined and my brother appeared on my door angrily screaming at me, asking why I felt the need to ruin his wedding. I was confused and asked him what happened and he told me everything. I told him it wasn't my intention. I just told our parents what happened because they didn't know and wanted to know where I was and I thought he told them beforehand. He screamed at me that I ruined his wedding. I told him it's not my fault, he wasn't honest with them. I just respected their wish to not attend the wedding. I couldn't know it would go down like this because like I said, I couldn't attend several events before because of my sexuality and my parents never said anything about it, so I thought it would be the same thing here. But I gotta admit it's kinda sweet that my parents and the rest of my family stood up for me. They haven't done it before. That's a more than welcome change. But I still feel kinda bad because apparently I really ruined the wedding party. Update: so after my brother's visit, his wife and him went on their honeymoon. And the way the wedding party went might have been even worse than I imagined. What happens now is incredible. When I said in the main post that two fronts had formed, I only meant that metaphorically, of course, but it's no longer that. While nothing much interesting happened in the first 2 days afterwards, the terror started as soon as my brother and his wife went on their honeymoon. My mom and my dad visited me and told me how the wedding party escalated and they were so close to physical violence. I thought it was funny at first, but this truly bothers me. I also want to point that you did a great job at convincing me it's not my fault, but hearing my parents' side still gave me a bad feeling in my stomach. However, like I said, the terror started shortly after they went to their honeymoon. And when I say terror, I mean that my sister-in-law's family found both my Facebook and Instagram account and started spamming me with hateful messages. I received insults and hateful messages from various different accounts who all had one thing in common. They all had somewhat of a Christian theme and all of them had the same last name. So it wasn't hard to find out whose accounts it was. Mainly because I don't know my sister-in-law's family at all. I only know her and I know her parents were homophobic Christians. But whatever. They not only started attacking me, they also found the account of my boyfriend from my account because we're linked as a couple and started to send him the same messages. The messages contained on one side typical bigot stuff like, "You're burning in hell for your sins." One even called me and my boyfriend two devils in disguise. The other side were just blatant insults. You get the idea. I called my parents and told them what they are doing. Then I sent a text message to my brother with screenshots of the messages his wife's family sent me, to which he replied that I shouldn't disturb him with that during his honeymoon as I already destroyed his wedding party. I couldn't believe it. He was just like them. He did send me an apology after my mom told me she called him. But none of this is the main reason I'm giving you this update this early. Because I got a call this morning from an unknown number. I hesitated because I thought it was one of them. And I was right, but it was none of the people who insulted me. I heard a woman's voice who introduced herself as the half-sister of my brother's wife. She said it didn't go unnoticed what her family was doing and she wanted to apologize for them. I told her I'm not going to tell anyone in her family about this and that I don't blame her for her family's actions. She thanked me and hung up. I don't know why, but I have this feeling she only did this to protect her family from being reported. My mother wrote to me earlier that she wants to report the insults and the harassment of these people and that she demands for my brother to divorce his wife or she will disinherit him from her will, because that's not how she raised him. A little radical in my opinion, but I understand where she's coming from. This entire thing escalated so much it's unbelievable. Update 2. It's been a few days. First of all, me and my boyfriend are fine. Luckily for us, they didn't go any further than their text messages. My mom filed a report against them. I don't know the current situation about that as I haven't filed a report myself. The reason I update you is a different one. First of all, one person in my sister-in-law's family is actually going to testify in my favor and against her family. It really takes courage to do so. It's the same person that called me in the last update. Somehow they found out that she is into women. No reason to hide it anymore. However, she said she's fine and is going to stay at a friend's house. I have so much respect for what she does. Imagine the strength you need to testify against your own family. I now feel bad for assuming she only called me to save her family from being reported. More importantly, what is the current situation with my brother? Well, my mom talked to him and told him to leave his wife or she will disinherit him from her will. He decided to stay with his wife and my mom made her threat come true. He's no longer in her will. My father did the same. When I visited them, I also told them that I wish that this entire situation went different. They assured me it's not my fault, but I feel like if it wasn't for me then my family wouldn't be ripped apart like this. Haven't talked to my brother since then. My boyfriend feels similar. He also told me he kind of feels responsible for all this chaos. I assured him it's not his fault. But honestly, I wasn't even sure if I could say this in my position. On the other hand, it was my sister-in-law's family's bigotry that ruined everything, and everything would have been fine if I could have just attended. But now it's time for me to grow distant to this situation. We see what the report will do. I followed your advice to document everything. The insulting and harassing messages continued until 2 days ago. So I have much to say about them. Unfortunately, homophobia is still very much normalized in our society. I already said it in a post in my profile, but the reason I'm so calm and casual about the situation is the simple fact that I'm used to situations like this. They don't get to me anymore. If I let any insult get to me, I wouldn't make it for a long time. It's a coping mechanism. I've been into situations where I was sent to the hospital because I kissed my boyfriend in public. So insults and harassment like theirs is nothing I haven't seen before. Final update. So last time I told you my mother was pressing charges against them, and to my surprise we won. They weren't going to jail or anything, but they had to pay for their actions. Literally. There was one incident where my sister-in-law's dad was actually trying to find out where I lived and asked my brother who told him. Only God knows what he would have done to us if we still had lived there. But in the time span of the last 2 months, me and my boyfriend moved to a different place which my brother didn't know anything of. Also, their social media accounts were deleted. However, I don't know if this was part of their punishment or if they did it themselves. My mom has also carried out the threat towards my brother and disinherited him from her will. After he came back from his honeymoon, he begged her to put him in again. She said only if he apologized to me. She invited me and my boyfriend over, and my brother sat in the living room with this mad look on his face. She made him apologize, but I didn't accept this apology because I could tell it wasn't sincere. He did it because he had to and not because he was actually sorry. I told my brother that I am disappointed in him for who he became. Before that we had this huge bond, usually never judged each other for stuff like this, and all of a sudden he has such a problem with me having a boyfriend. I just don't get it. I told him that I miss the old him. He didn't respond to anything. He just sat there quietly staring at the bottom. After I finished, he just got up and left. This was the last time I spoke with him, and it's already been a few weeks since this happened. My parents paid much more attention to the discrimination I face since this incident. They wanted to learn more about the problems I face as a queer person. I really love them. My dad even got a bisexual pride flag for me and asked if he could hang it in our bedroom. I love that I have such great parents. I just wished for my brother to become the person he once was. By the way, since the case with my sister-in-law's family is over, I didn't hear anything about their lesbian daughter. She supported us during the process, but we lost contact afterwards, and I just hope she's fine. New update. The final update of my story happened 6 months ago, and I figured some of you might be interested in how things are currently going. There have been some things that happened. First of all, I want to give you an update about the sister of my brother's wife. Around 2 months after my update, she texted us and asked if she could come over. We talked for a while, and I was relieved to find out that she is fine. She said that she moved in with her girlfriend when the case was over, simply because her parents and the rest of her family had disowned her and threatened her with physical violence if she dares to return. However, the relationship with her girlfriend ended after a while, and she asked us if she could stay for a few days until she found something. She stayed with us for 2 weeks. During that time, my parents had visited us and offered her to stay with them because they had a big house with some free space. She stays there currently because she wanted to study, and my parents had no problem with letting her stay a little longer. Me and my boyfriend also help her out financially a little bit. We included her into several different celebrations such as Christmas and New Year's Eve, and I feel like she is the sister I never had. What's probably more interesting for you is how my brother is currently doing. The truth is, I don't know exactly. We haven't talked since the apology. However, he actually tried to attend our Christmas celebration party, but the moment he appeared, my dad kicked him out and said that, and I quote, "This homophobic rubbish is no longer allowed in my house." I love him. Oh, by the way, of course, both went through with disowning him. My boyfriend and I are still together, and I feel like he might be the one I want to marry. This entire situation made our bond so much stronger. I plan on proposing to him, but there are so many ideas floating around in my head for the proposal that I can't really decide which one. Also, the social media accounts of my sister-in-law's family had disappeared entirely. All of them, but I assume they already made new ones under a new name. I'm just glad all of this is finally over. I don't have any compassion left for my brother. I just wish he had never developed this way. Everything that happened to him, he brought it on himself. If you guys want, I can update you when I'm engaged. Thanks for reading. Wish you all the best.
My husband has been secretly posting my body online, and I had to find out from a friend who stumbled upon the videos. Last Friday, I, 34 female, spent my evening with Kate, 24 female, a young friend from work, as she wanted to discuss something personal with me. I didn't think anything of it, as we do have a very personal relationship outside of work as well. As soon as I arrived to her place, the tension in the air was thick. She explained that she wanted to discuss a serious matter with me but that she didn't know how to go about it. I told her to just rip the band-aid off and tell me. She told me that she had found 2 recordings of a woman she believed to be me on an adult website. I told her that wouldn't be possible, but she was adamant that I was the woman in the recording. And she was right. I've never recorded myself exposed or doing anything intimate with my husband, but there I was in 2 recordings of 7 minutes and 4 minutes, both of them recorded in our old bedroom. As I rewatched every second of it, it starts to dawn on me that this was my husband's doing. But I pushed that deep down because there must be a reasonable explanation for this. Honestly, I left her place with my mind in a complete meltdown. I could barely hear what she was saying, but she did follow up with a text saying she's been in contact with a website about getting it taken down, and that she'll help me go through this. She also said she's scouring the internet in case there are more out there. I came home and pretty much ransacked my house looking for evidence, and I found it. My husband was using hidden spy cameras to spy on me and record me in my most intimate moments. I then just spent hours vomiting, crying, projectile vomiting some more, and begging God to just let this be a nightmare. I am a deeply religious and a fully veiled Muslim woman, and I've never been with anyone but my husband, and all this time he has been sharing my most intimate moments with the world. I don't know what to think or what to do. I can't look at him or speak to him. I've locked myself in our bedroom pretending I have COVID. All I do is look up how other people have dealt with getting things removed, and it seems like once it's on the internet it really is forever, even if I remove it from this one website. I've been crying non-stop. He truly must be something demonic, as he is right now talking about ordering in some of my favorites to see if I have an appetite since I haven't been eating well. I am so unbelievably hurt. I don't know how to share this with my family, or how to ask for help. I am crippled with shame, anger and pain. Update: I left him as I said I would. He went to work. The movers arrived, we packed my stuff and we left. The entire time I was crying to the point that even the movers were worried for me, but I couldn't stop myself from crying. I went home, sat my parents and siblings down, and explained the situation. My parents were and still are confused. They are elderly and fragile. They don't understand the internet. They just keep saying, okay, let's talk to the people and it will be gone. But my siblings understand. They are angry. They are sad and heartbroken on my behalf. My siblings and brother-in-laws took me home. We waited for him and well, we had a conversation with him. He denied it at first. So my brothers were firm with him and he started to be more truthful. He said he did it because he was depressed because he had an adult film addiction, love-making addiction, and because he didn't think anyone would see it. He said he posted only a few. When we asked him to be specific, he said he posted anything from 5 to 8. We had him take it down, but who knows how many times it has been downloaded or shared. In that moment I also found out he had a secret phone. He was also cheating on me with random women and adult pleasure workers. All this time I was thinking he's working hard, but nope, he was out disgracing himself and betraying our marriage. At some point he convinced us he needed to use the bathroom, and he somehow managed to call his mother, who arrived at our home with his brother and cousins. There was a commotion as they were angry at the treatment of their family member. Then things calmed down enough to explain to them what he had done. His mother fainted. His mother is elderly and not in the greatest health condition. We called for an ambulance. My neighbor had also called the police, and I was arrested by the time the ambulance arrived to take care of my mother-in-law. I spent the evening locked up. I didn't exactly have a polite conversation with him. So yes, I was arrested for hurting him, specifically slapping him, and he refused to press charges. Got released the next morning and went home to my parents. Cried some more because my parents kept crying. Then a few days later I spoke to some lawyers my sister had contacted, as they had experience with non-consensual material being posted online. They have been handling things with the police as I did press charges, and they are dealing with the websites. I also have started the process of divorce. I went to the clinic and got tested, and luckily he didn't give me anything so far, but I have another test scheduled just to make sure. I have spoken to his mother and she apologized to me even though it's not her fault. She told me that she understood why I want him punished. She asked that I let it stay in the hands of the law rather than I hurt him or have him hurt. He's in hiding, but he still calls and texts me from random numbers. He still lies and tries to manipulate me. I've just been documenting everything he says and texts to me. Oh, at this point everyone knows. I mean everyone, even little kids. And I feel more humiliated now than I did at first. Final updates: my husband has been secretly posting my body online, and I had to find out from a friend who stumbled upon the videos. This man has destroyed everything I have worked for and has completely destroyed the very little sense of stability and safety I had left. I had to resign from my job. A job that I loved. Jobs don't come easy for me with the way that I look. I can't work there anymore because I am a potential danger to the children and staff. Since perv men have started to harass me at work. I work with vulnerable children, and mothers who have heard about me have started to refuse me working with their children. Some don't want me to be involved with their child because their husbands can't stop being weird. Fathers have leered at me or made lewd comments toward me. One of them even offered me money to do you know what with him. Men have catcalled me with greater frequency than ever before. Men stare at me. A man followed me from my dentist office and groped me on the street. Random men call my phone, my family home and office to verbally abuse me because my husband has posted my address, my personal and work email, phone numbers, workplace address and every other bit of information online. It is as if the eyes and judgment of the entire world is on me. Yes, the great majority of people are sympathetic, kind and in support of me. Many people have reached out in support of me, from old classmates to former colleagues, neighbors, members of my religious community, family friends, his family and many more have expressed solidarity and kindness, but the crazies and pervs who believe him and are like him, are bolder, louder and much more noticeable. Then I find out from my lawyers and their investigators that he was giving me substances and SAing me as I slept. I suffer from migraines and insomnia and take medication for it. He saw my medication as an opportunity to make me unconscious with my own prescriptions. He shared, was actually bragging, on a forum where other perverts congregate how he was so clever for drugging me with my own medication and they were encouraging him to do more things to me. Soon-to-be ex-husband has also decided to spread rumors that I was aware of the cameras and pressured him into posting online, and there are people who believe him. He also changed his mind about not pressing charges. I went to court. The judge and prosecutors were sympathetic and dismissed the case. It was a combination of my lawyers explaining the circumstances that led to me slapping him and his subsequent actions, threatening me, attacking me, doxing me and blackmailing me by saying he didn't care about the slap, and that he would drop everything if I forgave him. My lawyers used his own words against him since he wrote it in text, and on a recorded call he admitted to me not having slapped him that hard and that he only pressed charges to cause me harm. But his crimes against me are still being investigated by the prosecutors. New update. I wish I could say I was feeling better or doing better, but I feel awful, and I am still struggling with everything. It is still his life's mission to be as cruel as he can be and to stand in the way of every step I make. He is still refusing to work with my divorce lawyer. He continues to be difficult every step of the way and has run off his own lawyers. He is now in his third lawyer and we are again starting from scratch in the divorce negotiations. He has been granted an extension by the courts due to his last lawyer just dropping him a few days before our hearing. As for posting non-consensual material, a trial date was scheduled and he recently asked for an extension and he'll probably be granted it as his criminal lawyer dropped him too. So in the last month he has been dropped by his divorce lawyer and his criminal lawyer. The man is on a roll. When it rains it sure pours. My father passed a little over a month ago and my mother is now in hospice care and she is soon to go back to God. I'm sad but not shocked about this as I've had a long time to prepare for it. My father had been battling cancer for almost 3 years and so was as prepared as a person can be, and my mother's health had been declining significantly for years due to her dementia. My soon-to-be ex-husband decided it was a great idea to corner me at the venue we held the after-funeral meal at. He decided to wait for me to be alone. He approached me as I was cleaning up the venue. I was on my own and at that time I was kind of exhausted and could not muster up the rage to chase him off as I had done many times before. So I just let him talk. He seemed almost decent as he was giving his million excuses on why things were the way they were. He cried about how awful he feels for hurting me. Then he started telling me about how he always felt I was better than him in everything as I made more money, was better educated, had been better traveled than him, and that he felt jealous of my confidence and how in the beginning these were things that he was most attracted to, but as our relationship and marriage progressed these were the things he started to dislike about me. He also said that he was angry that I refused to consider being a stay-at-home wife and mother even though he knew from the beginning that I wasn't the stay-at-home type. He said that he tried to be a good husband but that my refusal to bend or let him have the last say in things was the catalyst for his anger and need to humiliate me. He talked about how he had always had addiction issues but he thought that if he was married he would be cured of his depression, his adult video and love-making addiction, and he felt like if I ever found out I would have never married him and or would divorce him, and then it angered him and pushed him to want to punish me for thinking I was better than him. He was jealous and angry about so many things. But when I said to him, "So you hurt me because you felt jealous and inadequate in comparison," he lost his mind and started to shout and say that he knew I would react that way. I decided to refrain from commenting further and just let him spill his guts uninterrupted. For 3 hours he made excuse after excuse for why he did what he did. But it all comes down to him feeling inferior to me, him being jealous and angry that I dared have a mind and life of my own. He said right before our wedding he joined a men's group online that were helping him deal with his adult video and love-making addiction, and one tip given was to make your own videos and watch that instead, but he knew I'd never agree to it, so it was my fault he needed to spy on me and that he never intended to share it with others. But one day I had angered him so much and as payback he posted it and he felt good. And so every time I emasculated him by having my own mind or upset him in some way or another he would post more. Eventually he gained a following and had so many men asking him to post more he started to like the fact that other men looked up to him for his intimate prowess, and at the same time his addiction started to come back and he fell back into his habit of picking up women, and when he couldn't get it for free, he'd hire a worker. Then I guess it spiraled out of control for him. The more he spent on his addictions, the more lies he told, the more he felt like a failure for me covering our expenses, the more he resented me, and he got stuck in a cycle of self-destruction, which in turn only fueled his anger with me. He also says he joined a support group for addicts and started going to an addiction rehabilitation clinic as an outpatient to deal with his issues, and that I should give him credit for that. He feels that I should be proud of him for doing that and that I should take him back since he's putting in so much work. He also feels I should appreciate him not stalking me since my dad died, and he is sincere in feelings this way. He genuinely doesn't understand why I'm not seeing how hard he's been trying the past few months. In his deluded mind, he thinks that his honesty in our conversation should count for something and that I am just being a heartless jerk for having been stoic and unmoved by his tears and his show of vulnerability. Even though he gave a great performance of being human during our conversation, I remained unmoved by it because there was nothing to be moved about. I just continued to pack things up from the venue and got in my car and went home. I'm still not working, I still have crazy men calling my phone at all hours of the day, and I still feel humiliated and embarrassed. The only good thing that has happened is that several of the sites have taken down the recordings and banned him from using their platforms. Update: finally I have some good news. So a while back I was granted a restraining and protective order, and my now officially ex-husband did continue to stalk and harass me. After the umpteenth time of calling the police and going to court, he was finally imprisoned, and he has been in prison for a little over a month. I was also granted my divorce. I initially wanted a quick divorce and wanted to just give him everything he asked for, but he kept finding ways to delay or asking for more and more, and I just snapped, so I told my lawyers to do their worst, and they did. My lawyers hated him, and I got everything I wanted and way more. Not to gloat, but it was really satisfying seeing him cry. This has been the most peaceful month I've had in a long time. This entire time has been such a trying time, and it has affected my mental and physical health. I've lost 12 kilograms and I've lost a ton of hair due to the stress he was causing me. But I can honestly say that him wailing in court was the chicken soup my soul needed. I've moved from my city and now live on the other side of the country, and I've gotten myself a decent enough job. I am slowly mending my confidence. I'm in therapy and I can't say it's working right now, but I know if I stick with it, it will. The non-consensual material he posted has been removed from the more reputable websites he posted on, and my lawyers were able to get me monetarily compensated. These companies didn't want to go to court over it. I mean, money doesn't really change things that much, and I'm still hurt, but it's something. I'm also not so delusional as to think that it isn't still out there in some way or another, and I know there really isn't much I could ever do about that, so I'm just trying to make peace with it. My ex-husband will be serving time in prison for what he did, and my lawyers are working with the courts, and that should be sorted soon enough. I think the reality of the consequences are becoming very clear to him, as I have heard through the grapevine that he attempted to off himself and is now in protective custody until his trial date. He is facing up to 30 years in corporal punishment, and I absolutely look forward to it.
The judge told my ex he had to pay child support. He said, "I guess I'm going to jail then." I, 25F, just finalized a divorce with my ex-husband, 24M, and the judge agreed to my requested amount of child support, and my ex is not happy. Background: we were dating for a couple months when we decided to elope so that we could move across the country together and live in student housing where I was starting grad school. We barely knew each other, but it just seemed like the only choice at the time. Not even a month after the 1,800-mile move, I found out I was indeed pregnant. My first trimester was a hot mess, with me losing around 18 pounds from being so sick. I was in my first semester of grad school and working a part-time grad assistant job to pay for school and a bit of extra income. We had our tiffs here and there, but things were mostly okay for the first few months. We were both 22, just trying to navigate living on our own so far away from family. It all started to go south after he gaslit and manipulated me into letting his best friend, 22M, move into our second bedroom in our student housing apartment. The friend moving in was essentially the catalyst for me to start seeing who the man I married really was, which was a very emotionally immature, childish, full of unresolved trauma, dependent on marijuana, lazy person. I started having my doubts on whether or not he would be able to pull the weight of being a parent, but he worked and I depended on his income and was scared to try to leave because financially I couldn't swing it. Fast forward several months, there was a lot of fighting, some good make-up sex, more fighting, some deep conversations, but no change. He couldn't even do the basic household chores that needed to be done while I was at school and work. He lost his first job, got a second, lost that one, and was on his third job in less than 8 months. I recognized that he had trouble keeping a job, and I had my summer internship lined up that would cover all the bills, plus some, and would most likely be extended through my last year of grad school, as I had previously had a discussion with my manager about this opportunity. So, I sat down with husband and asked him if he would be willing to be the stay-at-home parent while I finished grad school. We talked about the logistics and the responsibilities that this job would entail. He agreed. Friend moved out 2 weeks before I had the baby, and things got better despite him quitting his job about 1 month prematurely, so we had financial issues, but nothing crazy. My internship started 3 weeks after I gave birth. It was a remote position but required me to be in my office area for periods of time. Well, to put it nicely, homeboy couldn't hang. Every time the baby cried he would bring her to me, say all she wanted was my boobs. I was breastfeeding and also pumping so he could give her bottles, and would bring her to me anytime he got overwhelmed and needed a smoke break, which often lasted for an hour at least at a time. I knew this wouldn't work out long term. I couldn't keep doing everything for our child and do work, and I was worried about what things would look like when school started back up. The beginning of the semester came quick, and he was already having such a hard time. When school started, I would come home from class and he would be in our apartment playing video games, and our child would be next door with the neighbors. This happened several times along with other things. Of course it's never one thing, and I snapped. I couldn't take it anymore. I was doing most of the housework chores, doing all of the taking care of child between my 2 remote jobs and classes, including overnight feeding. I had a roommate who was dragging me down, so I put my foot down and told him I wanted to separate. I offered for him to live in the spare bedroom until I graduated with my master's in 7 months. He was of course taken back by this and we fought and argued, but for me there was no going back. He declined my offer to stay, saying that there was no way he could deal with me for that long if we weren't together anymore. The night after we had this conversation, he began to sleep on the neighbor's couch while he made his plan to leave town. He would only come over once in the evening to take his dog out to the bathroom, and less than a handful of times interacted with our child over the course of 2 whole weeks and some change. He formulated his plan to leave and lied to me about moving back home where we moved from, and said he was staying with a friend in town. Being a single parent of a 4.5-month-old was not on my agenda, but I knew for her stability and environment this needed to happen. In 15 months of being the sole caretaker, he has sent me $0 in support. His reasoning was that he was waiting for a court order to be implemented so that it would all be on the straight and narrow and records of transactions would be kept. He was trying to fight for partial custody even though his living situation is unstable. He cannot keep a job, and he is not capable of being alone with his child for more than an hour without getting overwhelmed and needing help. We agreed to a parenting plan and mediation that states I have full custody and that he has visitation rights. He claims that he was railroaded into agreeing to this plan. I have visited his area on my own dime one time in the last 15 months, and he has visited us in our state one time. He canceled his plan to come visit for Christmas this year because he couldn't afford it and other reasons of which I am unaware of. I filed for divorce last October and we just had our hearing to finalize the decree. He did not show up to the court hearing. It took 15 minutes and the judge agreed that the amount of child support I asked for was a reasonable amount and ordered him to pay $390 per month. This is currently 50% of my monthly childcare expense. This does not include any other type of expense that I have for her. Last night on our video call I informed him of our hearing and he immediately had excuses that he didn't get the notification of the hearing, and I told him the judge ordered this amount of child support. He got very defensive and in his usual way took zero accountability for his actions and his responsibilities and responded with, "I don't even have a job right now. I guess I'm just gonna have to go to jail then." And told our daughter goodbye and hung up the phone. I don't need this money, but it is the fact that he has fully been living his life without having to face any of the responsibilities of bringing this child into the world. Any money that he sends will go into a savings account for our daughter. I have felt so much guilt and shame for the way things ended up between the two of us, and I'd be lying if I didn't convince myself that his gaslighting me was the truth when he has told me multiple times that I am keeping his child away from him. Now that this divorce is finalized, I can finally move on with my life knowing that my daughter is exactly where she needs to be. Thank you for reading this if you made it to the end. I needed to get this off my chest. I broke up with my fiancé for not bringing me lunch. I 25F and fiancé Mark 26M have been together 2 years. Me and Mark met through mutual friends and went to the same high school together but didn't start dating till years after we went through the long distance, and of course when he comes home for vacation, breaks and holidays. We also have a dog named Willie that we got together but of course stays with me and sees Mark when he's home. When he's home, he stays at my place and spends time at his family's while I'm at work. Since he flies home, he leaves his personal vehicle at base and sometimes uses my car. He also picks me up for my lunch break and eat together. He doesn't miss a lunch day. He got home 5 days ago and I returned back to work. Mark dropped me off so he could use my car for errands and to re-up on Willie's food since we just ran out during his morning feed. When he picked me up at the end of my shift, I asked Mark if he bought the big or small bag of Willie's food. He paused and mentioned he forgot to buy the food. Mind you, I work a 10-hour shift and fed Willie the minute I got up to get ready for work, which was 11 to 12 hours ago. I asked Mark, what has he been doing while I was at work, and just said, he was out spending time with his brothers. I'm a very understanding and patient person. I was mad that Willie had gone so long without eating but gave him the benefit of the doubt since he hasn't seen his family in months. I let it go. A couple days later, Mark mentioned he was going Christmas shopping with his brothers and wouldn't be able to take me lunch since he was going before their shifts. My brother-in-laws are 20 and 22 and haven't saved up for their own cars, so had to use mine. We had a surprise meeting that day which extended my lunch to a later time that Mark would be free for. I called Mark and told him of my new lunch hour and asked if he could bring me a plate of food. Mark weirdly hesitated and said he had to go feed Willie first since it was time for his second feeding. I suggested to feed Willie after he dropped off some lunch for me since my break was only for 1 hour and wouldn't have enough time to eat if he went back home first. Mark heavily insisted on feeding Willie first because he didn't want to upset me the way he did when he forgot to feed him a couple of days ago. I felt off. I love Willie very much, but I told him Willie was not going to starve from 5 hours of not eating. Mark suggested I just wait till the end of my shift to go eat after work. I was dumbfounded that Mark was being heavily hesitant on bringing me food. Especially since he's in my car and I haven't ate since last night because I'm not much of a breakfast person. I was starving. What could be more important than buying a plate of food for your starving partner? I got upset and asked Mark what's really going on because he's never missed a lunch date with me. Mark got loud and said I'm tripping and hung up on me. I called him back and all calls were rejected. He texted me saying he was going home and we could talk after work because he was tired from shopping. For petty reasons, I had a bag of chips in my desk that I refused to eat so he could hear my stomach growl when he picked me up later. I see him pull up to the front of my office building, and I calmly get into the car. The second we got home, I tell him it's over and ask to pack his things and leave. He calls me a crybaby and fucking dramatic and will regret breaking up. Is he right, and am I just being extra for ending the relationship? Update. To answer some repeating questions, all gifts were bought and given to my mother-in-law since she loves to rap and Mark is super bad at keeping gifts a secret. Even if extra gifts were being bought as a surprise, no gift would be okay to leave me with anxiety and overthinking for the remaining 6 hours of my shift. I also did not mention that I also had a feeling that he was probably out cheating since I wanted the actually thought and POV of everyone that read through this. I wanted to see if everyone's gut feeling/intuition thought the same without my influence. I also mentioned the part of me being petty to not paint myself as the saint some people say I'm assuming to be. And to show my raw emotion and irrational thinking coming from a place of hurt and anger. Now the update. Mark packed his stuff and left. The next morning, I noticed he left an old college jacket that belonged to his stepdad and meant a lot to him. A deep meaning behind it. I could have been petty and thrown it away, but decided to text Mark and maybe even talk it out after a night of being away and letting things calm down. I texted Mark, "Hey, you left some clothes behind," and his response, "Wow, already crawling back. Throw it away, I don't want that shit," without even knowing it was the jacket. I left him on read and decided to text his mother if I could stop by and drop off the said jacket. She said of course and told me to come by and also pick up the gifts I'm assuming I wanted back. I came over and was immediately greeted by his mother and stepdad, which hugged me and asked if I was okay and needed to talk. I immediately broke down. I explained the situation and basically told the same story as I told on here. His mother was pissed and decided to call Mark and ask for his side of the story, but did not mention I was there to listen in on the call. Mark answered by saying that I called him at the time he was with Nick and Devin, his brothers, and told me that he couldn't leave them at the mall since he was the only one with transportation, and immediately blew up on him for picking his brothers over me. I yelled that's not true out of frustration, and showed my mother-in-law the call history, which checked out at the time that both brothers were already clocked in for their shifts, which mother and father-in-law confirmed to be their shifts. One brother-in-law also shared a picture of him and some co-workers around the same time I asked him to bring me lunch. Mark hung up the call. In-laws texted Mark and cited W me. I thanked them for the memories and love and left my engagement ring W them. Mark has called me repeatedly and has sent text messages begging to talk. After an hour, I finally answered and told him to tell me the truth or this would be the final time we spoke. Mark admitted to seeing another woman. An ex to be exact. I hung up and haven't answered since. I know it says that this all happened today but actually took place 2 days ago. I had typed it out and left it as a draft since I cried myself to sleep and have been trying to keep it together. Update on Willie. Willie stays at a doggy day care while I'm at work lol, but we both decided to leave Willie home while he was in town to save money from it. My 27F fiancé, 27M, secretly went to Paris to see a female friend. Fake names. Throwaway because my fiancé is a big Reddit user. My 27F fiancé Eric, 27M, has a friend Jane, 20s, F, who lives in Paris, France. She had moved by the time we were introducing each other to our friends, so we've only met over video chat. Me and Eric have been together for a year and a half, and before we got together, he and Jane were involved. He told me it ended badly, but they did get over it. I don't know exactly what happened, I've never asked. She is really important to him. They do talk once or twice a month over text or video chat, and I know that they have a lot in common. I don't know Jane's situation, but Eric's parents were abusive, and I've pieced together that Jane's were as well. I've never gotten the impression that either one wants to go back to how it was, and he's never given me a reason to be insecure. Until now. He asked me to marry him 3 weeks ago, and I said yes. I was really excited to marry him. But then suddenly a few days ago he announced that he needed to go visit family. Which was weird because he cut his family off several years ago. He has expressed to me that he has no interest in seeing them again. He said that it was an important family emergency, and then just left. He kept me updated and we talked a few times on the phone. He told me that his mom was having health issues. I had no reason to be suspicious. Edit, I'm reading that over and it sounds weird, but he's always been very touchy when it comes to talking about his family, and I didn't want to push it. But then, a couple hours ago I get a message from Jane asking if Eric was okay. I said that he was visiting family, so he was probably just a bit stressed out, which is why he wasn't responding to her messages. She then informed me that he is in Paris, with her, and snuck a photo of him in her apartment. I haven't replied to her yet. I'm freaking out. I have no idea what to do. He just got on a plane to fly for 12 hours to see her without telling me, presumably last minute. Why is he there? Do I talk to him? Has anyone else been in this kind of situation before? Update. Thank you for all the comments and advice. I read every single one, and I appreciate all of the advice. I'm sorry for the late update, but I am extremely tired and haven't really sat down in a week and a half. To just get to the point, I left him. A lot of people were concerned that he'd find the post, but I did change a lot of details. The main issue remains the same. Jane lives in a foreign country, at least 12 hours away, and he decided to go to her without telling me. I also did see some comments discussing the age gap between Eric and Jane. Jane is in her late 20s. I said 20s because I wasn't sure at the time how old she was. After I posted and the comments started rolling in, I had to shut my phone off. There were many people saying that Eric wanted to be with Jane, that he wasn't over her, and I started having a panic attack. I'm not an insecure person usually, and Eric had given me absolutely no reason to be. But this whole thing, I felt very stupid and like I'd been blind. He was always very open about his friendship with Jane and how much she meant to him, but there was absolutely nothing that made me think he still had feelings for her. Honestly, even if he told me he wanted to visit her without me, I'd probably have said that was fine as long as I got to go on my own vacation. Anyway, I got Jane on the phone the next day. Her story is that he just showed up at her door, claiming that he missed her and that he just needed to get away. She provided proof that she had no idea he was coming, and I have no reason to not believe her when she tells me nothing happened. I think she was angrier than I was. At the time she figured that something really bad must have happened, either with me or with his family. She knew from past experiences it was better to just let him talk when he was ready rather than pushing it. She gave it 2 days, during which he was behaving very impulsively, kept spacing out, and he brought up their past multiple times. They hadn't seriously spoken about since it ended years ago. He's usually the calmer, more level-headed of the two of them, so this behavior was extremely out of character. Finally, she decided to text me to see if I knew anything. After I told her that he was with his family, she put it together pretty quick that I had no idea where he was, and she confronted him about it. They got into a massive fight that lasted for hours, and she eventually told him to leave. She didn't really tell me what the fight was about, just that she yelled at him for not telling me, but after talking to him I've got a hunch. Me and Jane talked for a long time. Both of us were crying by the end of it. I think this whole thing opened up some wounds. She told me their history, a lot of which really surprised me. Like how they weren't even really boyfriend-girlfriend, and he's the one who ended it. He'd always given me the impression that it was a bad but ultimately mutual breakup. It was just a really toxic situation for both of them, and it took them a long time to get back to being actual friends after. Which brings me to my conversation with Eric. He showed up a few days after I talked with Jane. I had packed up and left to a friend's at that point. He came over to talk. My friend was in the place the whole time. We talked for a while. I asked him 100 questions and he answered 5 of them. He said he was sorry, that he can't provide an actual explanation for what he did because he doesn't understand why. I said that that wasn't good enough, and I needed him to tell me what happened. He said he couldn't, because I won't understand. I suggested couples therapy for us. He's been doing it individually since before I met him, but he said he didn't want to. He just wants to forget that it happened. The positive explanation I have is that he had some kind of freak out after we got engaged, or maybe something did happen with his parents and he couldn't talk to me about it. Which is fine. I don't necessarily think that if someone is struggling, the first person they should always go to talk about it with is their partner. I'm totally fine with him going to Jane if he was freaking out over the prospect of us getting married, or if he did hear something about his mom. Obviously don't fly to another country and lie about it, but that goes without saying. Jane could probably understand that better than I could and would know what to say. But he can't even talk to me about it now, nor is he making an effort, so how does that bode? He just wants to pretend that everything is fine and normal, and I just can't do that. On top of all of that, up until now he's never been secretive about how he feels or what he's thinking about or his history. He hates talking about it and is touchy about people asking a lot of questions about it, but he's always told me stuff if I asked. I think if he was panicking over getting married, or if something actually happened with his mom, he'd tell me. I couldn't help myself and asked if it was because he just doesn't want to talk about the fact that he wants to be with Jane and regrets how he treated her. He denied it, but I think I hit a nerve. He claimed that he doesn't have any leftover feelings for her other than the fact that she's a big what if. She's important to him, but she's the past and I'm the future. This may just be my fear talking, but what if this whole time he's been using me to try to make Jane jealous because he's realized that he lost her? And he went to see her to see if she still wanted him, just in case. I think that's what they fought about. I think he went there to see her because he's realized he still wants her. And she's been off living her life without him, no problem. It's bad enough if that is the case, but if I take him back, what if she changes her mind? I don't have a reason to believe she'll change her mind. She doesn't talk about him the way that I talk about someone I'm romantically interested in, and now that I know their history I wouldn't want him back either, but who knows? After our conversation, it's obvious that he's not 100% certain that he wants to build a life with me, and he's not willing to do what it takes to fix this. I'm not worth the work. He won't even try. And that's basically the big issue for me. I can't build a life with someone who won't put in the effort. So I don't want to be with him. I told him to leave, and he left without a fight. I've blocked him on everything. I've talked to Jane a few times since, and they have spoken. She told me that he's probably going to take some time off work and figure stuff out. I hope he can get some help. Plus, I know it sounds utterly bizarre, but I think I've actually gained a friend in her. She's checked in on me multiple times and even helped put me in touch with a new place to live that I just moved into. I'm really tired. It's been a really horrible and busy time. Thanks for the support and the advice. I'm glad I found out now before we had started seriously planning, or worse, after we got married or had children. If I find out anything more, I'll update on my profile. If anyone has any advice on how to deal with the embarrassment or good ice cream flavors to get through the pain though? I caught my neighbor cheating. What I found out was unexpected. I feel like shit about this. I was eating lunch with a friend when I saw my neighbor kissing someone. His wife is very pregnant and brunette. The women he was all over was neither of these things. I mean, if this was an 80s movie, there would have been saxophone music playing and how hard they were making out. I know his name after I fixed their thermostat back in December. He approached me to see if I knew how to fix it. I never caught her name. I, without digging too deep, know that he is cheating. There is no open relationship, and she is pregnant. I saw their wedding picture when I was in their place. I have now seen him with this other woman on 2 occasions. The second time was her dropping him off at his place. Could be a coworker. Lee, don't feel like I know either of them well enough to say something. I cannot stand cheaters, but is it my place? I hate this guy I barely know. He fucking sucks. Update 1. I posted about my neighbor cheating on his pregnant wife a while back. I said I would wait until she gave birth in order to not add to a stressful situation, if I was going to say anything at all. I saw them bringing in their twins from the hospital about 2 weeks ago. They looked very happy and I decided to say hello. I said my brother had twins with his ex-wife. I then turned to the cheating guy and said, they needed a lot of help right after they were born. Do you have someone helping you? He said, we actually moved out here for work and don't have any close family or friends nearby. Family was traveling out to help. I walked away thinking, who is the woman I've seen you making out with numerous times? Well, I found out last night. It's his boss, as she was dropping off a gift for the new babies while I was coming home. It was a short elevator ride, that felt like an hour. I'll admit I took a little longer opening my door to go in. I was glued to the body language difference. She gave him a hug that you would give if someone you've never hugged before went for a hug. Handed them the bag and never went in. So yep, he's cheating with a coworker. He is shit. The safety issue has weighed on me. If I were to leave an anonymous note, she might get hurt or worse when confronting him. I don't know them well enough to know how either would react. Hell, I don't know how some of my close friends would react to a note like that. If I were to leave a thumb drive with photos/video, the safety issue is still there. He couldn't explain it away easily, but 2 infants and a woman much smaller than him might have something bad happen to them as a result. I've thought about the boss/other woman. What if I let her know that someone knows? She seemed to care enough not to jump his bones in front of his wife. Would someone who is shitty enough to cheat with a married man back off at something like that? Would them stopping be enough, or should the wife know regardless if it is still happening? I know mind my own business. I feel we should look out for each other. I wish more people felt that way too. Update 2. I kept my anonymity, so this will be hard to go into deep detail. I found out for a fact he was cheating on his pregnant wife with a coworker. I wanted to punch him in the jaw whenever I walked past him. I'm glad I didn't. I collected pictures of him and his boss making out, both at dinner and dropping him off. Once her family was around to help with their newborn kids. I wrote out a note. The note went like this. I hope I am way off and, your sister's, safety is far more important than anything else. On this thumb drive there is video and pictures of your brother-in-law cheating on your sister with his boss. I hope I am not exposing you to a lifestyle that all 3 are consenting to. I strongly think that is not the case. I would reveal my identity if I told you why. If that is the case, I'm not judging, disregard and have a laugh at me. I noticed the affair several months ago. I wanted to wait until the twins were born and family could keep her safe. I'm so sorry that the news is coming to you this way. I wish I could do more, but I feel like doing this is stretching beyond my limits. I left it in an envelope on their rental car, which was making my stomach feel like it was in my throat while I did it. I waited, and I waited, and I waited. Then I noticed a U-Haul being loaded up with boxes. I asked if someone was moving in. The guy turned out to be the wife's brother and they were moving her back to her parents so they could help with the twins. I knew the real reason and I feel a weight off of my chest. Yet there is still doubt that I shouldn't have gotten involved at all. The brother told me the husband was staying because of his work. So I still have to live right by this shit. I feel overall mixed about it. I keep second guessing myself, thinking I should have done it different, sooner, or at all. I truly hope that I did the right thing. So few people know that I did this. Well, except for those of you who read this and helped me realize it was I needed to do. Thank you, but my dislike for this guy has only become worse. Fuck him. I hope I never have to interact with him again. Update 3. There is so much information since my last post. Again, I'm sorry if my posts come off as cagey. I don't want to give away who I am, if somehow one of them ever came across this. With that out of the way. The wife is never around. I still feel so bad for her. She seems like a sweet lady. She took her kids up to her parents. I can assume because of finding out about the infidelity. As for the husband, he does not wear his wedding band anymore. The boss still comes around. When the wife initially left she came around more. One other woman has started coming over to his place too. They are getting a divorce. I found out in a way that makes me dislike this guy even more than I did. Again, trying not to dive too much into my personal life, I've recently started dating again after staying single for a while. Someone I've been seeing off and on told me he hits on her whenever she visits me. Obviously, not every time, but when she runs into him while visiting. He told her he is going through a divorce. His ex is a total bitch for moving back home. I don't really socialize with him. He seems to be out chasing women as if he was always single. I haven't really worked through why I feel so conflicted about the whole thing. I know I did the right thing. We should look out for each other. I hope one day I get past my weird feelings about it. Maybe if I let someone in my life know what I did? It feels like a weird secret to be carrying with me. I wish he was as miserable as I'm sure we all wish he could be. Either he is good at hiding pain, or he feels freer to sleep around without a wife and kids to hold him down. I wish people were more empathetic of the feelings of people they claim to care about. Stay safe. There are good people out there. The bad ones are just a bit louder. I'll keep people updated if you want me to. Update 4. This will be a quick, yet big update. The cheater was arrested by an undercover cop for solicitation of a sex worker. He was caught as a part of police sting. I've learned that he comes from a pretty wealthy family. They own a lot of grocery stores. So he was bailed out of jail fairly quick. All the neighbors know about it. The woman he is currently dating must too. She has been around since he was arrested. So I don't think they are breaking up over it. He's seeing a few women, but she is around the most. As for his ex, she was up here for a friend's party that I also attended. I'm not going to say how that happened, it would give away my identity. She seems better in many ways, but you can see the toll this past while has had on her. Her ex was arrested after the party. She didn't mention him, but we did see pictures of her twins. They are adorable for those wondering. She is back in school and living with family. You know when you see someone and they're sick, but they are getting better? That's the best way I can describe it. She's clearly got some psychological wounds from all of this. She seems tough though. As for the cheater, he doesn't seem all that different from the end of his marriage. I hope going to jail teaches him some kind of lesson. I highly doubt it though. My mother completely ruined my bachelorette trip by acting a fool. Before we get into the story, I want to thank my subscribers and you as a viewer. Thank you for support. So, a few months back I had a bachelorette trip to Puerto Rico. 2 of my bridesmaids were able to go and my mother and sister came as well. I asked my mom to be the maid of honor since I thought it would help create a closer bond between us getting ready for my wedding. My whole goal was to have everyone get along and just have a good time. I should have known this was going to be a disaster. A couple of weeks before my mother started bashing all of my bridesmaids/friends. She was particularly focused on one that was actually going on the trip. I ended up paying for my mom, sister, and my own flight to help the burden of my mom having to pay for both her and my sister. The plan was my mother was going to pay for her and my sister's hotel. My friend reached out to everyone to try and plan something for me without me getting involved. I would like to add that I planned the bachelorette trip as the bride. When my friend reached out to my mom and called her, she wanted to help as much as she can. My friend is actually Puerto Rican, so she was going to be a huge help with this trip. At the time I did not know about this call. My mother called me at 3 a.m. after having that call with my friend that day to tell me she has not been doing her maid of honor duties because she was observing everyone and everything. She then said as the maid of honor she should be planning the bachelorette trip. I found this conversation odd, but I said okay. I was relieved that she finally stepped up to help me with the trip. My mom did say before the call ended to not tell my friend she talked to me about this, which I did find odd as well. The next day my friend called me and told me that she wanted to make sure that I had a great bachelorette, that to remember it is all about me. She wanted to help me with the excursions I wanted to do, and I told her my mom wanted to plan as well so they could work together. I saw my mother the next day and she went on a rant that my friend was disrespectful and said she was not letting a little girl control her on this trip and made it seem like something was wrong with my friend and how she did not want to wear her stupid t-shirts during the trip. She started raging and telling me she doesn't want to go in the rental car with my friend and wants to take an Uber. Her words, "Your friend is disrespectful, and I will beat this bitch ass." This automatically started stressing me out. She said she didn't like my friend and she was disrespectful and has mental issues. I ended up calling my friend and asking her if she could cancel the rental and she said she could not. I created a group chat for the ones attending the trip and my friend was asking questions about why activities we were going to do and how excited she was, and my mom and sister was instantly annoyed. My mom was supposed to plan the activities that we were going to do in Puerto Rico. She refused to let my friend do it or participate in helping, and again my friend is Puerto Rican. Fast forward to the first day of the bachelorette trip. When we arrived my mom's luggage was missing that had all of her toiletries. She was upset about it. When we got to the hotel, I let everyone rest since it was an early flight. My friend got there a little later in the day and I met up with her and my other friend in the lobby. I called my mom and sister to meet us downstairs and so we could go with them to replace the toiletries that were lost and to have dinner. As me and my 2 friends were waiting, my mom came downstairs and stood behind my Puerto Rican friend and said hi to her so low that she could not hear her. I hinted to her that my mom was standing over and behind her while she was sitting on the lobby couch, which I thought was weird. She turned around and said hello. My mom instantly just said, "Okay, I'm leaving now, go be with your friends." She literally ran off. My sister did not say a word. When I tell you the energy was so off you can cut the tension in the air with a knife. I asked my friend what was going on with her and my mom because something just felt really off. She told me she did not really know her, so she did not understand why. I decided to just go to the bar with my friends and wait for my mom and sister to get back. 5 minutes later I get a text from my mom saying, "Shame on you, you betrayed your family, you chose a nobody over your own family, I am disappointed, and your sister and I are out of the wedding." I responded and said that I did not and asked what the problem was. I was then ignored. I started crying hysterically because I did not want my bachelorette to be like this. My friends tried to cheer me up and took me out to dinner. I decided to let things cool off and try to smooth things over in the morning with my mom and sister. I went to my mom and sister's room and knocked on the door several times and kept going back to knock on the door. I also called each of them and no answer. I even waited around the lobby to see if I ran into them and nothing. I called both of them again later in the afternoon and finally my sister picked up. I asked if they were okay and if we can squash whatever happened and move forward with the plans. I asked why they did not answer me for hours and they said they were sleeping, which I knew was a lie because I heard someone look through the peephole when I knocked earlier. My sister said they are not doing any of the activities that I wanted to do and that they were having lunch and would not tell me where they were. I felt like shit. My mom planned nothing that she said she was going to plan. My friend even texted and reached out to my mom and apologized for whatever my mom thought she did and called, and my mom did not answer. My friend scrambled and tried to make the best of the rest of the trip for me while my mom and sister was MIA. The day before we had to leave and go home, my sister reached out to get their plane tickets, which I purchased. I sent it to them and was immediately upset. My mom asked me to put my credit card down for her and my sister's hotel and said she would pay me back. I honestly think that she had no intention of paying me back because she is my mother. They ignored me during the entire trip and now demanded their plane tickets. I decided to change my flight and leave earlier. I couldn't sit on the plane with my mom and sister and act like this was normal. My sister called and asked if I was going to get an Uber to the airport, and I told her no, I have a different flight. My mom finally appeared and called me and said so many hurtful things. My mom told me I was always disloyal, how I interpreted everything wrong, I overthink, I don't care about her and my sister, how I was feeling is wrong, and called me liar and hung up in my face. My friend started to tell me about the phone conversation that she had with my mom prior. She didn't want to tell me out of respect for my mother because my mom asked her not to tell me about the phone conversation. My friend said my mom was talking badly about me, my fiancé family, and how I was planning my wedding. My friend was put in this awkward position. Ever since that trip I have not spoken to my mom or sister, and they did not show up to my wedding. I only get a text from my sister to tell me to pay both her and my mom's phone bill once a month, and that is it. Update. Thank you all for the advice, commentary, and inputs. I wanted to follow up on the original post that I posted. So far, I have gone no contact with my mother and sister. I ended up getting a new phone line and phone number. I texted my sister to let her know I will no longer be paying for her or my mother's phone bill anymore. I then cut off that phone and moved on with my new phone line. I blocked and removed them from all social media as well. Once I did that, my mother decided to appear and attempt to call me at my job, stating that there was an emergency and she needed to speak with me. I told my colleague that I would not be answering the phone and there is no emergency, and to not answer my work phone line if she does call. After that she has not made any more attempts. I believe she tried to call to bully me into paying their phone bill and try to do the guilt trip and shame me like she attempted to do on my bachelorette trip, but I was not falling for it. I also cut off my sister's Apple Music, which I know she would be pissed about. It all felt good. I also found out that my mother added her husband's phone installment plan to the bill a year ago without telling me, and that literally pushed me over the edge. I didn't notice it because it was an installment plan that only brought the bill up $35. That $35 a month adds up over time. This added up to me paying $500 for it before I cut everything off. I mean, who has their daughter paying for their husband's brand new iPhone 14? How does anyone sit there comfortable doing that to their own daughter? This I will never understand. It has been 7 months so far since I decided to go no contact. I can say that my life has been more peaceful with no drama. It has brought me and my husband closer together. I can truly say I'm happy and starting to get back to being me again. My relationship with my mom and sister was toxic and put me in a really dark place. Everything that happened during that trip has opened my eyes, and I am looking forward to better things, and I plan on redoing my bachelorette trip the right way.